Baker Mayfield and star wide receiver Mike Evans. What are the best fits for those guys in free agency?
So this is a massively loaded question. For Baker Mayfield, it is obvious. The Tampa Bay Bucks are the perfect place for him. It is such a nice marriage on so many fronts. And I talked to Baker about this. He wants to be there. It's a matter of, but he's also wants to get market value. What is that market value? That is what general manager Jason White has to navigate. But this was a great marriage for 1 year, and I believe that it should be a long year. Let's get to Mike Evans, though. This is the most interesting one to me of all, perhaps of the offseason in general. If the Bucks can't lock him up and he does commit to going elsewhere, the Kansas City Chiefs should absolutely be pursuing Mike Evans. To me, we should not forget. I understand the dynasty that is the Chiefs. I talked about how they can morph into many different things. But we should not forget the middle of the season. We should not forget the league-leading number of drops that the Chiefs faced. I don't know that it is sustainable to do what they did in this postseason. They've got to go get weapons, and Mike Evans should be absolutely at the top of their list. He would be a game changer for Patrick Mahomes.
Jeff, what would not be sustainable in that scenario is their salary cap. They got to take care of Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed. Oh, by the way, their left tackle, Donovan Smith, before we get to Mike Evans.
Yeah, but think about it.
I would rather Mike Evans than Chris Jones. I would rather Mike Evans in this offense than Chris Jones on this defense. I think that they can be. Look, this is a team that redefined themselves from 1 year to the next, right? We saw them flip-flop. They were an offensive team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They were a defensive team that won it this year. I also recognize that they did it without Tyreek Hill. They've got to put weapons around Mahomes. They can't fall into this trap where they believe that they can just win Super Bowls year after year without weapons. They need to do it. They got through this year. Brett Veach is smart enough, though, to recognize the free agents weren't available last year. He redefined the team. Yeah. But I still think that this team should pursue offensive weapons.
What do you think, Harry? Jeff says he'd rather have Mike Evans than Chris Jones if he's the Chiefs. Do you agree?
Now trending on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Jeff Darlington with the hottest take of Get Up this morning.
I mean, I'd rather both, and I think they can do both. But I still think Mike Evans. I still think that changes everything for this offense.
But Harry, like he is obviously that kind of player in terms of an impact wide receiver. I mean, do you like the fit if the Chiefs go and pursue him, if they can make it work?
I do like the fit, but I don't like the fit more so than I like Chris Jones on that defense and being the dynamic player and having that defensive line versatility in a guy in Chris Jones and also a game wrecker. So no, I don't like Mike Evans to the Chiefs more so than I do them re-signing Chris Jones.
You know, Andy Reid already answered this question for us 2 years ago. He said, look, we love Tyreek Hill. We can't pay him. And then they traded him to Miami. So to me, if you were going to invest in the receiver position, I'd rather have Tyreek Hill over Mike Evans, as good as Mike Evans is. So they philosophically said, hey, we have Patrick Mahomes. We'll fill in with Sky Moore and a whole other host of young players. And we're going to keep Chris Jones and build that defense. So I think they've already answered that question.
I mean, how did that work out? They won the Super Bowl, but you cannot forget what they went through. You can't discount the issues that they faced middle of the season. You can't put that burden on Patrick Mahomes every single year.
What you got, Harry?
Let me say this. So Jeff, I do agree they have to address that issue. I just don't think Mike Evans, with the money he's going to be demanding, is the answer for them addressing that issue.
No, Jeff's on an island.
And by the way, I don't know. That's a fine point, Harry. I don't know what the money's going to be. I don't think any of us do at this point. But I do know that Mike Evans wants to get paid, but he also wants to be on a winner. He's tired of that. Like, he would stay with the Bucs if he gets paid, but he made very clear last offseason that if he doesn't get paid, that he's going to be looking outside. And there's no way that Mike Evans is not at least looking at Patrick Mahomes wondering what that would do for him.
With the final word on this.
Yeah, just to take you behind the scenes, like one of the tiebreakers teams have when you have these discussions is you look at the draft and the depth of the wide receiver position this year is exponentially better than defensive tackle. Chris Jones is a lot harder to find. As great as Mike Evans is, Chris Jones literally saved that Super Bowl. There were multiple times Brock Purdy may have had a key third down or a touchdown in overtime, but for Chris Jones' pressure.
All right, Jeff, you get the final word.
Just to be clear,
so
you could do.
Yeah,
you could. Well, I'm not trying to pick between the two. I think that they could get both. My point in this is that the Chiefs have done a good job of morphing their identity year after year. Mm-hmm. Last year, we would have said the same thing, like they need to find wide receivers. They found a way to win. I'm just saying that they cannot go through another season without addressing that wide receiver position. That, to me, is the number one priority for this team, regardless of how things ended up. Not re-signing Chris Jones. I think that they should sign him. Number 2 priority, sign Chris Jones. Number 1 priority, add more offensive weapons.
All right, these are good points, but I do have to question you. You said, I'm not trying to pick between the two. You are the one that said, unprompted, I'd rather have Mike Evans than Chris Jones. So it sounds like you are trying to pick between the two. I would rather have Mike Evans than Chris Jones. I want to talk about Kirk Cousins. What's the best fit for him in free agency, Mike?
It's the Atlanta Falcons. If he gets out of Minnesota, again, he can't be franchised. So if they don't get a deal done, we've talked all morning about all these great weapons that Atlanta has and haven't had good quarterback play. I know he's a little bit older at 36. I know he's coming off of the injury, but boy, what a massive upgrade Kirk Cousins would be for the Atlanta Falcons with Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I think it would be a really fun offense to watch. I'd be surprised if he didn't get a deal done with Minnesota, but if he does, Atlanta should be all over him.
You brought up Dallas, and I want to talk about Micah Parsons, because if you feel like Micah Parsons has been everywhere this offseason, you're not wrong. You see him here winning MVP of the Celebrity All-Star Game over the weekend, and then he caught up with our Stephen A. Smith on the podcast circuit. Here's Parsons talking about his relationship with Cowboys team owner Jerry Jones.
And we just sit and talk from before the game until the whole half about players I want to bring in, players I want to be around, who do I need, who do I want to be with, future of our team. And that's just dope to have that type of feedback with an owner that, you know, loves to hear your ideas and what you think and where the team can be.
All right, Harry, apart from the buddy comedy we absolutely need to see, that's Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, what do you think about this Cowboys offseason? Jerry said he was going to be all in. What are you expecting from Dallas?
I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not going to let Jerry Jones be a magician and trick me and be all talk. One thing I know about Jerry, he can sell water to a well, but he's not going to sell that water to me. I will believe going all in when I see Jerry Jones go all in. This is a show me world. You can't tell me A, B, C, or D. I need to see A, B, C, or D. So that's how I feel about the entire situation.
So we know he's talking to Micah about who he wants him to bring in. If you were next, like if Micah's meeting ended and you were the next one into Jerry Jones' office, what suggestions would you make for this offseason?
Well, the first thing I would say to Micah is I know how much GMs make and I know how much pass rushers make. Don't quit your day job, Micah. You're doing great. But what I would do is I would spend my way out of the cap situation, meaning I would sign CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah to huge sign bonus, lower their cap numbers. But what I would do is we've talked a lot about their character, their culture draws. I would go sign Levante David or Bobby Wagner. Leighton Vander Esch in all likelihood is going to retire. They need to be bigger in their front seven. Go get a veteran leader as an inside linebacker. And then at the running back position, like we talked about, go get Saquon Barkley.
Harry, we've been talking about that a lot this week, about the idea of Cowboys and internal leadership. In your experience as a player and being in locker rooms, is that something you can import from the outside? Like if they went out and signed a Bobby Wagner or someone like that, do you think that would be a helpful move for them in terms of off-the-field stuff?
Yeah, 100%. When I was in Atlanta, after the 2008 season, we signed a guy, Tony Gonzalez, right? Tony Gonzalez played a huge role on our football teams, and he was also one of the leaders, along with a lot of other people. We also brought in a guy, Mike Peterson. Mike Peterson at the linebacker position. He was one of our leaders on our football team. So you can definitely do it, bringing somebody in from the outside. I just think for this football team moving forward, they talk so much and there's so much going on, and we focus on the outside things that we don't really focus on the football part so much because of what this guy's saying, that guy's saying. I think for them, the main thing has to be the main thing moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. I mean, obviously he can say, as Harry pointed out, Jerry can say all in all he wants, but the Cowboys have been very measured and deliberate in free agency in recent years. They don't usually make that big splash.
But they should make that big splash on their own guys. Under the CBA, you could spread out a sign bonus over 5 years, and again, you could lower the cap numbers on those big three, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott. That gives you the room to go out and add some pieces. Again, what really hurt them this year was the size of their front seven. When Vander Esch went down, Damone Clark, Marquez Bell, they weren't big enough. And as we talked about, bring in a leader, kill two birds with one stone. They should have enough cap room to do it. And again, you could spend your way out of the situation with massive signing bonuses for those three key players.
Dak deal especially, his cap number sitting at $59.5 million. They're going to have to find some way to knock that down.